All right, hi everyone. Today what we're going to do is we're going to solve quadratics uh, using completing the square. Now, we've been solving quadratics before by factoring, and factoring is great, but factoring leads us to a lot of guessing. Now, let me give you an example of that. If I give you x squared plus 7x plus 10, oh, no, let's give you another one, I'm sorry. Let's do 8x plus, let's do 12. Okay, and when I ask you equals 0, we could factor this, and factoring is one of our easiest ways of solving this problem. But it leads us to a little bit of guessing. We have to be a little creative on the way we think about how we can factor this. So let's see if your factoring skills are any good. What numbers make up 12? We always write 1, 12, 2, and 6, and 3, and 4. And which of these add up to become 8? Right? That's our idea. Which of these add up to become 8? Hopefully you'll see that it's going to be 6 and 2. 6 and 2 here are going to give us 8. So 6 times 2 is 8. 6 times 2 is 12, but 6 plus 2 is 8. X, 6, and 2. And we said it's going to be plus and plus. So we had to work on factoring problems first. Oh, thank you. You guys got it. Okay. And from here, we can then set them equal to 0. Plus 6 is equal to 0, and x plus 2 is equal to 0. Now, I like to say this. From this step here, you could automatically say, hey, that answer is x could be -2 and -6. We could do that, and that's how fast we want to be able to do it. But if not, fine. We can take our time. -6 to both sides. -6 to both sides here. X is equal to 6, -6, I'm sorry, and -2 both sides here. X is equal to -2. And these are the same exact answers. But I would like you guys to be able to see them once we're in the factor form, that a -6 would make the problem go to 0, also a -2. Okay. Well, how can we solve this using a different method? A method called completing the square. Well, if I gave you x squared plus 8x plus 12, and I asked you to make this go to 0, we can also use completing the square to solve this. So let's go and take a look how we would do that. Let's go ahead and complete the square here. If we complete the square, we bubble up. This is level 1 problem nicely because there's no number in the front. Oops. There's no number in the front. And we have x plus, we always divide by 2. That becomes a 4. What's the perfect C I wish I had? That's plus 16 minus 16. And then we can combine these values here. We end up with -4 is equal to 0. Okay, great. Now we're going to go all the way back to literal August in Algebra 1, taking everything that we learned in this year of Algebra 1. We are going to try to solve for x. So how am I going to go ahead and solve for x? Well, we have to get rid of a bunch of numbers. And let's look at what we have to get rid of. We have to get rid of the 4. We have to get rid of the squared. And then we also have to get rid of this 4. So we're going to ask all these values to leave to the other side. And get rid of all these numbers to the other side. So let's do that. That's not going to be nice. Okay, so how do I get rid of a -4? We're going to add 4 to both sides. Darn it. Plus 4 to both sides, we end up with x plus 4 squared equals to 4. Our next move is we are going to take the square root of both sides. The way we get rid of a square, we practiced this before, is we take the square root to both sides. So I'm going to write out the next move. We're going to take a square root to both sides. A square root to both sides. And we talked about this before. Whenever you take a square root, you need to include a plus or minus with that effort. The square and the square root both cancel out, leaving me just a x plus 4 equals to plus and minus square root of 4. Now, we also know what the square root of 4 is. What's the square root of 4? The square root of 4 is just 2, so plus and minus 2. We're just talking about the math there. And then the next step is minusing 4 to both sides. X is equal to negative 4 plus and minus 2. Now, when you have this plus and minus symbol here, it means you have two possibilities. It's like one of those choose your own adventure books. We can either go up, negative 4 plus 2, or we can go down, negative 4 minus 2. So we have two possibilities here. Both of them are correct. Negative 4 plus 2 is negative 2, and negative 4 minus negative 2 is negative 6. So we still reached the same conclusion as we did before, negative 4 and negative 6. Yes, it took more work, but there was no guessing involved. There's no, is this factorable? We just went ahead and went with our procedure. And this is how we solve the quadratic by completing the square. This is how we solve by using completing the square. Now, I would like to give you guys a shortcut. How many of you guys like shortcuts? I think we all like shortcuts. And all this writing here is great. All this writing here is great, but it is not necessary. It is not necessary. Let me explain to you why it isn't necessary. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and do everything in our heads. So here's what I want you guys to do right here. We're going to do everything in our heads. Look right here. In this problem here, we're going to do everything in our heads. We said before, what's the first thing we're going to get rid of? We said we're going to get rid of the minus 4. Then the next thing we're going to get rid of is the squared. And next thing after that, we're going to get rid of the 4. And we're going to do that all in one step. So take a look here. That's good. And sorry, I keep jumping around because of this tablet. Oh, this thing. So here is our shortcut. Okay. The first thing we're going to get rid of is negative 4 here. Oops. Ooh. What happened there? Let's undo that. Well, first thing we're going to get rid of is negative 4. After we get rid of negative 4, we're going to get rid of the squared. And then after we get rid of the squared, we're going to get rid of this 4 here. Okay? So negative 4 first. So here's what we're going to do. In your head, what's the opposite of minus 4? Plus 4. Just write a 4 there. How to get rid of a square? We take the square root. How to get rid of a plus 4? We minus 4. We can do this all in one step. Like, no joke, we can do this all in one step. We're going to do this like 3 or 4 more times, and I'm going to show you guys you can actually come up with this all in one step. So we have x is equal to negative 4 plus and minus 2, because the square root of 4 is 2, and then we have our two options, negative 4 plus 2, negative 4 minus 2, and that's going to give us our negative 2 and our negative 6. Okay, so the idea is once we complete the square, we have a Algebra 1 way of solving this problem. Okay, a very simple algebraic way of solving this problem. So let's go ahead and move down. Let's go ahead and give you guys some more problems to try. Okay, let's go ahead and go on to the next problem. Oops. Okay, so let me jump into the next page. Okay. All right, let's do another example. Let's do x squared minus 4x. I'm going to say minus 45. goes to 0. Okay, what we're going to do, we're going to try our new method of completing the square first and then solve using completing the square. So let's go ahead and complete the square for this program, for this problem. So when we complete the square, since this is a level 1 problem, we take the middle and we divide it by 2. We have x minus 2 squared. Are you guys okay with me bubbling up here? Okay. Now, what's the perfect C value I wish I had? Well, we always square this number here. It's at the factor. 2 times 2 is 4. If I add 4, I'm going to change the color here. If I plus 4, I need minus 4. And then we combine down, leading us to, we combine these down, right? To become negative 49 equals 0. Okay, so completing the square took us 1 step. If it's a level 1 problem, we can easily complete the square in 1 step. All right, awesome. Now what? Well, now we're going to solve it. Now I want us to practice us solving this quickly. And in order to do this, let's do another problem quickly, and then we'll do them both together. X squared minus 10x minus 10x, oops, come on. Minus 10x, and we'll say minus 14, sorry. Minus 24. Let's complete the square here. Okay, let's complete the square. X minus what? What number goes in there in your heads? Hopefully you guys can say 10 divided by 2 is 5. 5 squared is plus 25, minus 25. We combine them down, it becomes negative 49. Okay, make sure you write the equal 0. Now, look at these two problems. We have completed the square. We can automatically tell what the vertex is. The vertex here is 2 and negative 49. The vertex here is 5 and negative 49, right? That's how easy we can find the vertex. But we haven't solved it yet. What x value would make this all go to 0? So let's go ahead and solve it. We're going to do our fast way, okay? I'm just trying to convince you that this is possible. We could get rid of the 49 first, then we can get rid of the squared, and then we can get rid of the 2. And we do that all in one step. First step, second step, and then third step. So let's try to do this together. Okay, so if I get rid of a negative 49 to the other side, what's opposite of minus 49? Isn't that just plus 49? How to get rid of a squared? We take the square root of it, plus and minus. And how to get rid of a minus 2? It's a plus 2. If you are going to do it the quick way, you must write this step out so I can see that you pushed everything over. Don't simplify yet, just write it. We can simplify our next step. X equals to 2 plus and minus square root of 49 is 7. And we have our two possibilities, 2 plus 7 and 2 minus 7. 2 plus 7 and 2 minus 7. Oh my goodness. Did die on me, like legit. Okay, I was able to get it back. So negative 2 minus, nope. Negative 2 minus 7. So we have two possibilities. Our answers are going to be 9 and negative 5. Okay, we're going to do the same thing on the right side. And we're going to do this. We're going to do it as fast as we can. We get rid of the 49 first, get rid of the squared, and then get rid of the 5. So we're using opposite operations. What's the opposite of minus 49? It's a plus 49. What's the opposite of taking a square? A square root, plus and minus. And what's the opposite of plus 5? Sorry, minus 5, plus 5. So we have the same problem. 5 plus and minus 7. Two versions, 5 plus 7 and 5 minus 7. 12 and negative 2. 12 and negative 2. Let's rewrite that. Nope, you still crashed. And negative 2. Okay, so the idea here is that we can use completing the square to solve this. We could have done factoring, yes. If I wanted to factor these problems, absolutely I could have factored them. I could have went down and said, okay, let's go ahead and factor these problems. The first problem was x squared minus 4x minus 45 is equal to 0, and x squared minus 10x minus 24 is equal to 0. If I wanted to factor these problems, we could have done it. What are two numbers that multiply to become 45, but subtract out to become 4? What are two numbers that multiply to become 24, but subtract out to become 10? Oh my goodness. Let's subtract that to become 10. So would you be okay? 9, oh come on. 9 and 5 multiply to become 45. And does 9 and 5 subtract out to become 4? Yeah. So we have x and x. We have 9 and 5. And we have more negatives than positives. On the right side, let's factor out 24. What numbers multiply to become 24 that subtract out to become 10? Well, 6 times 4, they multiply to become 24. And 6 plus 4 is 10. But we need to subtract to become 10. Well, 12 and 2 multiply to become 24, but 12 and 2 subtract out to become 10 also. And those are actually the ones that we want. More negatives than positives. Now, if we went and solved these separately, x minus 9, what would make this guy go to 0? X is going to be 9. And make this guy go to 0, negative 5. And these are the answers we got over here. Factoring is always going to be the fastest way. When it comes to solving, if you can factor, there's no reason to do any other method. But if you don't know what factors work, completing the square is another really fast method, especially if it's a level 1 completing the square problem. X here could be on our right, it's going to be positive 12 and negative 2, because positive 12 cancels out negative 12 and negative 2 cancels out a positive 2. These are answers over here. 12 and negative 2, exact same answers. Okay, so let's practice this one more time with an easy level 1 problem. X squared minus 6x plus 9, okay, is equal to 0. Let's go ahead and complete the square. If you guys can for me, go ahead and complete the square. Let's go and bubble up. And let's see if you guys can complete the square in literally less than 30 seconds. Okay, hopefully you got something like what I got. The 9s actually canceled out, and this is actually a nice perfect square problem. Does this change the way we solve it? No. X minus 3 squared is equal to 0, fine. Instead, we don't have to get rid of the 0 anymore. We just get rid of the square and get rid of the 3. X is equal to the square root of 0 plus and minus 3. This gives us just 3. I don't know why it does that. 3 plus 0 is 3, and 3 minus 0 is 3. So we have two answers here. Our answers are going to be simply just 3. Great. Okay. Let's just go ahead and do one more, since we're kind of on a roll here. X squared minus 12x, and then we'll say, let's say plus 32. Now, if you guys could please go ahead and complete the square with the problem. X minus what? What do we write for the middle term? 12 divided by 2 is 6. Then we take the perfect square, right? What is 6 squared? What is 6 squared? Well, you just like to crash, don't you? The perfect C value I wish I had is plus 36 minus 36. Negative 36 plus 32 is negative 4. Now, on our next step, we could go ahead and solve this already. What number do we get rid of first? The ones that are close to x, the one that's farther away. The way I've been teaching this is getting rid of numbers farthest away. So let's get rid of the 4 first, get rid of the 4 first, and then get rid of the square, and then get rid of the 6. So what's opposite of minus 4? Plus 4. How to get rid of a square? Square root. Don't forget the plus and minus. How to get rid of a minus 6? Plus 6. And that is just our one-stop shop. We can take the square root of 6 is really 2. Sorry, the square root of 4. Square root of 4 is really 2. We have two different versions. 6 plus 2 is 8, and 6 minus 2 is negative 4. Oh, sorry, positive 4. Darn it. Okay. And that's actually our two answers. If we went ahead and factored these problems, we would have gotten the same answers. Okay, so let's kick it up a notch. Let's look at level 2 problems. What would happen if I had a negative sign or a number in front? Now, both of them again are treated the same way. Let's go ahead and give ourselves a new page to write on. Okay, so what if I give you a number? Let's give us a number. Let's say it's going to be 2x squared plus 4x. Oh my gosh. 4x minus 3. So we're going to solve this by completing the square. And our goal here is this will not be a nice answer, okay? This is not going to be a nice answer for us. So here we go. Let's complete the square. Because there's a 2 here, we're going to get rid of the 2 first. X squared plus 2x. And then we open and then minus 3, right? If you remember, when we complete the square with the letter a value, we always get rid of that a value first. We always get rid of that front coefficient first by dividing it out of the first two terms. We have not completed the square yet. We're just getting ready to. Our next step is we're going to go ahead and now that we're all set up, right? There's nothing in front. Now we can complete the square. 2, bubble up. Now what goes in that bubble? We always take the middle term and divide it by 2. 2 divided by 2, right, is 1. X plus 1. What's the perfect C value I wish I had? Plus 1 minus 1. Now we practice this that we have to multiply the 2 by this last one to get rid of it. 2 times negative 1 is negative 2. And we're left with negative 5 at the end. So us completing the square, as you guys have practiced completing the square repeatedly, hopefully you guys are kind of used to this process now. Now for this problem, we're gonna get rid of everything in reverse order. So we're gonna get rid of, let's go ahead and look at what we're gonna get rid of first. We're gonna get rid of our -5 first. Oops. Gonna get rid of our -5 first. And then we're gonna get rid of the square next. Nope. Actually, we have to get rid of the 2 next, right? 2 next, and then the squared, and then the 1. So there is a order to this. We're gonna get rid of the 5 first. I can't get rid of the squared because of this 2 in front, so we have to get rid of the 2. So this is gonna be 1, 2, 3, and then 4. It's kind of hard to see, but with the 1, 2, 3, and then 4. So this is the order in which we have to get rid of all these numbers. But let's say you don't want to do the fast way. Fine, we'll go ahead and do the slow way first. We'll take our time, and then I'll show you guys the speed version of this, okay? So let's go ahead and say, I'm going to get rid of 5 first, plus 5 to both sides. If I add 5 to both sides, we're left with 2x plus 1 squared is equal to 5. Great. Now get rid of the 2. Divide 2 to both sides. X plus 1 squared is equal to 5 over 2. Okay, now how do I get rid of the squared? We take the square root to both sides. And we're left with x plus 1 is equal to this plus and minus the square root of 5 over 2. Last step is we're going to minus 1 to both sides. Now, this one might look a little bit interesting, but is this going to be x is equal to -1 plus and minus square root of 5? Oops. Square root of 5 over 2. Square root of 5 over 2. Okay. Let's try this again with another problem. Again, this is if it's a level 2 or more. Let's do 3x squared plus 12x. I'm going to see what the something like that. Doesn't really matter. Okay. So what number do we want to get rid of first? Let's get rid of the 3. We're left with x squared plus 4x minus 5 is equal to 0. Okay, remember I'm completing the square first. Once we're in our x squared form, we can now bubble up. We always divide the middle by 2. The perfect c value I wish I had was 2 times 2 is 4, so plus 4 minus 4. We multiply the 3 by that -4 to kick it out, so we're actually -12. Combine those becomes -17. Becomes -17. Now, here's the part that we have to strategize. Like any video game, we have a plan, and we have to execute the plan in the right order. If not, we're not going to pass. So what number do you get rid of first? The 3, the 2, the squared, or the 17? So we've been working on the stuff that's farthest away. We get rid of the 17 first. Let me go ahead and write numbers next to it. I'm going to get rid of this one. Get rid of the 17 first. Oh my gosh. Get rid of the 17 first. Then get rid of the 3 next. Then get rid of the cube next. And then the 2 last. So we're going to get rid of things like this in order. Yep, thank you. So let's go ahead and show us how fast can we do this if we just want to go through it. So if I move the 17 over, we end up with positive 17. If I move the 3 next, that's multiplying. Opposite of multiply is divide. How to get rid of a square? We take a square root. And the way we get rid of the 2, we minus 2. So we can do all these 3 steps in, and look, we solved it in 1, 2, 3 steps. Okay, we solved an incredibly hard problem in only 3 steps. So let's go ahead and take a look at your IXL problems now today, and let's see if they compare. Okay, so for this first problem, we see q squared minus 16q plus 29 is equal to 0. They ask us to complete the square for this problem, and that's it. So complete the square. Write your answer in integers, proper fractions, improper fractions, or simplest form, or decimals rounded to nearest hundredths. Okay, so q squared minus 16 plus 29. That's what we're going to be looking at right now. Okay? So q squared minus 16x plus 29. Let me double check that. Yep. Okay, that's the problem that we're going to work on. Oops, let me make sure I'm sharing the right screen. Okay, q squared minus 16 plus 29. So we're going to solve this by completing the square. Let's go and bubble up. Q minus 16 becomes q squared minus 16 when we divide by 2. This becomes q minus 8. What's the perfect square we wish we had? 8 times 8 is 64. So we add 64. And we minus 64. 29 minus 64. Oh, 64, negative 64 plus 29. It's going to be 30. What is it going to be? 35? It's 30. I think it's 35. Yep, 35. Negative 35 equals to 0. Okay, q, we take our 16 divided by 2 is 8. 8 squared is 64. Add 64 minus 64, and then we end up with 35. Sure. Now we're going to go ahead and thank you. And now we're going to go ahead and just get rid of the stuff. Get rid of the 35 first, get rid of the squared, and then get rid of the 8. So q is equal to 35 square root plus and minus 8. Opposite of negative 35 is plus 35. The opposite of a square is a square root. And then minus 8 becomes plus 8. Okay, so let's take a look at our question again. In what ways will they accept answers? In what ways will they accept answers? In IXL, they said you can write your answer as an integer, improper, proper fraction, or decimal. So they actually want us to do rounded to the nearest decimal. So let's go ahead and write this in our calculator. What is 8? We have 2 versions now. Remember, 2 versions. 8 plus the square root of 35 and 8 minus the square root of 35. So I'm going to take my calculator. I'm going to go ahead and plug that in. So on my calculator, 8 on my plus the square root 35 square root is 13.916. I'm going to round this up to 13.9192. I'm sorry, 92, rounding up. So on your calculator, if you guys try typing that on your calculator, download one from your phone. Next one is 8 minus 35 square root. I'm getting 2.083, which rounds to approximately 2.08 because they want the nearest hundredths. So let's cross our fingers like in all IXL problems. We're going to cross our fingers and hopefully we got it right. So let's go and plug our two answers in. $13.92 and 2.08. Oh, wow, we got that right. How nice. Now this next problem, they have the 29 on the other side. And oftentimes you might see completed the square problems like this, but we're going to move it back over. Let's go and insert another page. So we have a problem, it looks like this is the last problem we'll do. Sorry, we're out of time, but we're going to do it quickly. Z squared minus 22z equals to 29. I'm going to move this back over. Z squared minus 22z minus 29 is equal to 0. Let's go ahead and complete the square. X, 22 divided by 2, whoops. 22 divided by 2 is 11. So z minus 11 squared. And then square of 11 is plus 121 minus 121. Okay, we combine those to become a negative negative 150. Okay. Now, for us to solve it, we're going to get rid of stuff. We're going to get rid of 150. We're going to get rid of the square. We're going to get rid of the 11. So z is equal to 150. Take the square root, plus and minus. And what's the opposite of plus 11? No, minus 11, plus 11. And we're going to go ahead and type this into our calculator, but we have to write our two versions. 11 plus square root of 150, and 11 minus the square root of 150. So on my calculator, 11 plus 150 square root is 23.24, rounding up to 25. And 11 minus 150 square root. 11 minus 150 square root is negative 1.25. Okay, negative 1.25. All right, let's go ahead and plug those answers in and see if we got it. $23.25 and negative 1.25. All right. Okay, so you guys are going to practice that for your IXL skills, and that's kind of it.